Ever since I started making content, everybody wants to know, Swati, why only you have one child? Why not another child? Now, there are, of course, a lot of pros and cons if somebody chooses to have one child versus multiple children. That is for sure. So, we are going to talk about a lot of angles that you can think through, which can help you make an informed decision.
Told if Sarah was my first child, I wouldn't have had a second child.
What happened when I decided to have a dog and what lessons it taught me.
Because I see both cases where the siblings are like parents to each other. That also happens.
Yeah.
And I also see the other side where they are fighting for generational property and not talking to each other.
And I think gender grief is also another reason why people go for second child, I feel. I wanted a boy, but it happened to be a girl. So I want a, like that.
Yeah.
Vice versa also. Yeah. A lot of women, when they go through my very traumatizing birth experience, and because money is a huge factor, right? Definitely, yeah. For certain things, it's a huge factor. For certain things, it's not a big deal also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for what is it not a big deal? Now, I want to talk about the interval between two children. Because most mothers' questions are surrounding this area, when should I?
Which is a good
Okay,
gap.
okay for second, maybe someday, but when is the right time? I do get to hear from them that they have a very different equation with the child that they formula fed versus the child that they breastfed. I know it's very sensitive. Very, very sensitive information.
Why is this child darker? Why is this child chubbier?
Me there. What are the pros and cons of long interval? Let's say 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. Okay. Which brings me to the topic of adoption, Ji. Because a lot of parents ask, shall I just adopt instead of going for biological child? Welcome to another episode of Stories with Maya Zamma. With me, your host Swati Jagdish. I have my bestie Goda Haripriya with me yet again for a sibling-related conversation which a lot of parents have been asking me for the past 9 years. Ever since I started making content, everybody wants to know, Swati, why only you have one child? Why not another child? Can we go for another child? Everybody is asking, should I go just because everybody is asking? Should I go for some other reason? This, that, blah, blah, blah. So many things related to siblings. Now, there are, of course, a lot of pros and cons if somebody chooses to have one child versus multiple children. That is for sure. So, we are going to talk about a lot of angles that you can think through, which can help you make an informed decision. Yeah, that's for sure. You'll get some clarity by the end of this session. Yeah. And I have one special story also. Story of getting a dog.
Oh, yeah. You have to talk about it.
Yeah. So that story I will tell you in the end. What happened when I decided to have a dog and what lessons it taught me and why I decided to not continue with the journey. Yeah. Big story, sentimental story. I'll tell it in the end. But before we begin, G, first things first. First child, what did it teach us?
I think so many things, starting from my time won't be mine. Somebody is dependent on me, so I have to be emotionally sorted, available, be open. It taught me about my own triggers, my own emotional health, mental health, my own childhood wounds. Okay. After finances, how to manage finances, plan finances, which
Everything centered around the child.
Everything is around the child. I realized that for me to have my own time is dependent on so many factors that are not in my control. Yeah.
Yes. Importance of family support.
Food related changes, health related changes, because somebody's imitating me. I'm watching like Big Boss House. So then you have to always make better choices. Can't be jolly low like that. Can't be fooling around saying I'm still a child.
Yeah.
When you have a child, it's a huge step in adulting.
Can't step out whenever you want to step out. 10 p.m. you want to go for a drive with your partner. You can't just like that go because your child's sleep time is around 8:39.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many little things keep changing in our lives the moment a child arrives. I think a lot of couples that are married and are not having kids currently have this question of when do I actually become ready for a first child. I think we can have a different video of that because there's so many elements that you can think of. But currently we are only focusing on multiple children, having multiple children or siblings or most precisely second child. When do I have a second child? So we're going to focus on this. So we just want to set the context here because having one child itself, yeah. So second child. Now, when it comes to second child, G, ideally, if the circumstances and all were beautifully set, the reason why somebody would want another child should have been the need to raise another child, right?
Yes.
I feel the need to raise another individual. I have the resources and the mental bandwidth for that. I would love to enjoy this process of parenting once again. Should have been the ideal reason.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But what are the actual reasons why people have second children? What are some of the things that you can think of?
One is societal pressure. Pressure of what an ideal family looks like. We too are
Papa, son and daughter.
Amma Kirale and the Mari. Dosa. From that rhyme onwards, that context is set in our childhood about what is an ideal family. So that is one thing. Next could be accidental pregnancies.
Oh, for sure. What, G, I used to think of this when I used to go for my lactation consultancy work. Most of the second babies. I'm not exaggerating. I can easily say 96, 97%. It just happened, ma'am.
It just happened.
We didn't plan.
Yeah.
It's very common, no?
Yeah.
I think one of the most common reasons why people have second child. And just life just goes on after that.
Yeah.
Right.
It just happened and then we went ahead with it.
Yeah.
That's one reason. What other reasons for people to have a third child?
I think the feeling that this child won't be lonely. What about that?
Yeah, that's a huge factor, no?
Yeah.
I don't want my first child to end up being after my time.
Yeah.
Who will be the companion for my first child? My first child will feel very alone. That is a huge reason.
Practically speaking, how many siblings are together after the parents' demise? They have their own families, their own commitments. There are many siblings that are in different countries.
Yes.
Right. So practically, I don't know how far they will be supportive to each other, but it's a good reason. Valid reason. Okay.
It's a hit and a miss. It's a hit and a miss.
Yeah.
It's a 50-50 probability.
50.
Because I see both cases where the siblings are like parents to each other. That also happens.
Yeah.
And I also see the other side where they are fighting for generational property and not talking to each other and creating more wounds for each other. That also happens.
Yeah. So another reason I would say is the financial legacy and the heirloom should be continuing.
Yeah.
So if they have a girl, now definitely they will want to for a boy.
Yeah.
That is another reason I would say.
In many people might be surprised. They might think that in this day and age, come on, even if they have two girls, people are okay. But no, I know of so many families, even after having two girls, they go ahead and have another third child, fourth child, simply because they want a guy to carry forward the legacy of the family.
Yeah. And I think gender grief is also another reason why people go for second child, I feel. I wanted a boy, but it happened to be a girl. So I want like that.
Yeah.
Vice versa also.
Yeah. A complete family.
Yeah.
I want completeness.
Talking about complete family, G, the sibling thing, no? What are some of the dynamics in that sibling thing I want you to tell? Do they really not feel lonely, or is it the same with every family that has 2-3 kids?
Okay. So this is a frequently asked question that I get in my classes, in my parenting classes. We talk a lot about siblings, the equation, because when it comes to rivalry and all of that, I think it's not a huge factor to consider in the long run. Just because you don't want the first child to end up being lonely, having a second child is not a valid reason according to me. Because there are
many other parameters that are going to come up now.
Like we discussed, how do we know for sure that these two are going to end up being there for both of them?
One thing I see is, even if there is no sibling, a lot of people now, they are in huge communities and there are a lot of children to play around anyway.
Yeah.
So many children are engaged that way, I feel. Yeah, that's also there. Now, G, coming to another aspect of women wanting or not wanting another child. What are some of the reasons of not wanting another child? Or what are some of the reasons why women are confused? First of all, why did this confusion come in the first place?
Yeah.
This was probably not there years ago, right?
Yeah. It was taken for granted. 2, 3, 4 children were taken for granted. Today, I think it's the postpartum.
Definitely.
Yeah. The struggles of women faces in postpartum. And then
we don't get to know the reality until we have
it the first child, no?
all of that is very overwhelming for a new mom.
Yeah.
And I think with that itself, she decides, oh, no more,
Yeah.
no longer. And I think another reason that we have to definitely mention is bad birth experiences.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of women, when they go through very traumatizing birth experiences, we don't mean C-sections, because a lot of C-section moms are fine.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of vaginal birth mothers, they say, was very traumatizing.
Yeah,
very hard for me. I don't want to do it again. Yeah. Or maybe the pregnancy journey was very difficult and they did want
one more pregnancy.
Yeah. That was they would have had a very risky pregnancy sometimes and they didn't want to try again. They would have gone through fertility treatment sometimes. They don't want to go through it again. They might have had a special child because of which they don't want to try again.
Yeah.
So such couples I see.
Next, huge thing. The lack of support.
Yeah.
Physical support, emotional support. Today, most of us, at least the urban population, at least most of us are in nuclear setups. So many people hesitate to have a second child because they know one is a hands full. Why go, extend themselves when they know clearly that they can't? Working mothers.
Yeah. So they are not sure how much of break they will need.
Yeah.
Or this break itself is too much. How much more will I take? I need the money. Let's say the money is not a big factor, then it's fine. If a woman is okay to be a homemaker and she's okay to have a long break, or if she is not sure when she'll get back to the workforce again, and she can let go of that sort of a life and lifestyle, then I feel it shall be smooth. And I think that was why people before would have probably not had a confusion like today's women. Another reason, I feel people are questioning whether to have another child is advanced ages, because there are a lot of women who marry late and end up having first child itself late. So second one, I think they question because of that, because of age-related complications or medical complications are also another reason. What else do you think?
I think the amount of time 2 children would take from our social life, because today I think most of us are kind of used to having engaging social life. We want to go out, we want to travel a lot, have more watch movies, have more experiences for ourselves. So having a second child means again another 3-4 years of break from all of that. So that makes a lot of women, men also for that matter, to hesitate going to the second.
Another huge factor that I thought we'll have a separate question itself for is money. I didn't want to include that in the previous one because money is a huge factor, right?
Definitely, yeah.
For certain things, it's a huge factor. For certain things, it's not a big deal also, right? I mean, for what is it not a big deal? I think toys and clothes and all can be reused, pre-loved, you can get if you want. That possibility is always there.
Yes.
But main expense for a lot of family that they think through is, I think, school fees, right?
School fees and medical expense. Yeah. So yes, school fees is a huge factor that stops a lot of families from going for the second one. May think that even if it's for one child, I want to give the best. So when it's 2, it's gonna be, I
have to compromise
on certain qualities. So that is a huge factor why parents today are hesitating.
Some parents, I think a very small percentage is choosing to do homeschooling. So money might not be a factor there. But still, I think that's a very small percentage.
Yes.
Now, I want to talk about the interval between 2 children. Because most mothers' questions are surrounding this area. When should I?
It's a good gap.
Okay for second, maybe someday. But when is the right time? So I think there are pros and cons for both.
Yes.
Short interval and long interval has pros and cons. I think we can talk about both. Okay, what are first of all, we didn't set the context by telling Goda has 2 children, but I think you already know that because we always
previous podcast.
Yeah.
So my children have an interval of 4 years.
Okay.
Which I don't, is it too long or too short? I don't know. I think I'm in the middle.
The middle, true.
Yeah.
What about very short intervals, 2.5 years, 3 years, some people
I think the biggest disadvantage that I can think of is the amount of tantrums both of them would have, because it would be very difficult. Similar age, so expecting the elder one to have more buffer for the younger one is not going to happen. So it's going to be like 2 hands full.
Both will need your time.
Yeah.
Sometimes both are breastfeeding.
Tandem feeding is that challenge.
Tandem feeding,
It's a con. A pro I can think of is, I think, fatafat the job will be done. Like in a gap of few years, your children will cross over to the next phase. So then,
Where they'll not need too much of us support. At least
Yeah.
potty training will be done.
Together,
Breastfeeding
together.
will
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. You don't have to take out a large chunk of your life to in child rearing. So in a gap of 5-6 years, I think they'll both be in school, or they will move over to the next phase where they will need you less.
Yeah. So I think that's why a lot of previous generation people ask you to get married at the right time and then have these couple of children at the right time. So that afterwards you can just, I think with
Be more available for
they are telling these things. I take it a little in the nagging way and irritating way because of the way they tell us maybe. But I think these are the facts why they come up with these suggestions, I feel. And one other pro is using things again, no, for the next child.
Yeah, it's such a huge factor. You wouldn't have given away a lot of things. You will still have them. So you can continue using it and then be done with the process.
Yeah, those are the pros and cons. What are the pros and cons of long interval? Let's say 7 years, 8 years, 9 years.
Okay. I think the biggest pro is the opposite of that, wherein the one child will already be a little grown up. So that way you will just have one child to be emotionally available to.
And in
The
many
elder
cases,
child
that child would say, I'll take care of the
elder child will
Tammi,
parent.
Tangachi, I'll change the diaper.
Yeah.
That sort of involvement might be, you can't make them the parent.
Yeah.
Please make sure that you don't entrust the parenting responsibility on the child.
Elder child.
But that child will be more understanding and empathetic, I feel. Yeah.
Even if the younger one is not willing to share or they have tantrums, the elder one is a little more okay to let go and be like, okay, fine, have it. All of that happens in the huge
And one more thing is, from the parent side also, emotionally, they get a huge break before they start the same thing again.
Yeah.
So a lot of, if the health factor is also supporting you, they'll feel much better to do it again after a long period.
After a break.
Support and
That interest will be there. You will not be this exhausted, overwhelmed parent of handling two very
That is a pro.
short.
Yeah. What about the con?
Con, I think, from what I observe, is the attachment that both of them have might not be the same as these two. The ones
Because the
that close
person would have transitioned to another stage,
So that emotional, I'm not saying it's the same for everybody, because I know some who are really, having a huge word gap and they're connected. But mostly I see that when the gap is wider, the attachment is a little less.
Yeah. The friendship and the camaraderie will be slightly less. The emotional bonding and all will be there. My sibling know how can I know we want. So,
but the equation would be more of an mentor, protector kind than being the musketeer. That vibe might be little.
Any other con?
Con?
You have to do the whole thing again.
Oh yeah.
That is a con. No.
You told that as a pro, no? Yeah, sometimes yes. Because again you have to. I forgot everything. Are you one more time I have to attend breastfeeding class? Are you one more time I have to do breastfeeding? Sometimes all of that could be difficult.
Yeah, true. Which brings me to this question, Jay. Since you said breastfeeding, and when I go for breastfeeding consultations, and when I continue having a relationship with those mothers for a long time, I do get to hear from them that they have a very different equation with the child that they formula fed versus the child that they breastfed. I know it's very sensitive. Very, very sensitive information. Take it with a pinch of salt. Not everybody. But there are a lot of mothers who open up these sensitive parts of their life. Ma'am, I feel very differently connected to both the children. Let's say the C-section child, I struggled a lot during the C-section phase, so I couldn't bond with them in a certain way. Another child, the second child was a VBAC, a vaginal birth after C-section or natural birth, whatever. But I'm able to connect to that child in a different way. So parents are slightly different to each other. Not just this, G. I also feel the time of when they had that child. Let's say they had a child when they were too young and immature and angry and frustrated that they're losing their career or whatever. In that phase when they had the child, that child will probably be a different, this parent might be a different parent to that child compared to another child where they had them at a time when they were really relaxed and they figured out life or they figured out their finances. Then the relationship with that child also, I feel slightly the difference is there.
Yeah.
What kind of difference have you seen?
I actually first even accepting that we are different to each child itself is a big step. Because we are taught that both are like two eyes of you. It's not different. in a way, yes, they are my children, but I have observed that there is a slight difference in the way I perceive them, treat them. Mainly, I think in my case, it's because of the temperament of the child.
Yeah.
Because
Extroverted child,
introverted child, because Sarangan, the first child, is more like me. So the way I bond, it's an ease, it's a breeze for me with Sarangan because he's more like me. So I know him, I understand him. Whereas Sarah, the younger one, she is a completely different syllabus for me. She's not at all like me. She is a very different child than me and him. So I kind of feel that the way I relate with her, the way I communicate with her, that ease is not there. I have to actually genuinely put some effort into being emotionally available for her. I have to take that extra step for her. So around her, I am more cautious than I am with the elder one. So that temperament difference I always see.
And 99% siblings will be very opposite.
Very opposite. That's
Yeah.
how nature works or something like that. So there's this joke that I always tell people that, God thought if, first he gave me this one very similar child to me and he made me believe that, parenting is so easy, such a breeze, gentle parenting. Come on, let's do one more outing. He changed the syllabus suddenly. Because if this child was born first for me, many times I've told, if Sarah was my first child, I wouldn't have had a second child. So I think this is nature's way of
Challenging the parent.
yeah.
என்னதான் பண்றேன்னு பாப்போம்.
Challenging the parent with procreation. Nature doesn't care of this. No, nature is all about reproduction and procreation. So I think
பண்ணாதீங்க அடுத்தது.
that's a joke that we have. And there's also one more thing that I frequently get in my classes. That ma'am, first child, it was such a ease. Like I was so dedicated to gentle parenting. I was so kind to my child. I've never raised my voice or never raised my hand to this first child. But after the birth of the second child, my God, I'm struggling so hard to be gentle with the first child and with the second child. It's such a challenge. So that's something that I wanted to acknowledge to all parents, that having two children and wanting to, be kind and respectful then is a challenge. Is a challenge no matter who you are or where you are, how much support you have. Emotionally in itself, it's a process. It's a draining process. It's an exhaustive process. It takes a lot from the mother, especially to be a parent of two or multiple children. So don't feel guilty or don't feel bad that, after having, was it a bad decision? After having the second child, I'm not able to even be available fully to the first child. So it's a phase. That's what I would say. Because 2 years back, I was a very different parent to both of them. Today, when they're a little older, things are very different.
You spoke about that particular example, wherein you had to quickly become another mother to the other child because of the age difference.
Yeah. Yes.
To a 1-year-old, 1.5 or 2-year-old child, how you talk. And immediately when the 7-year-old approaches you.
Yes. That is a big shift. No, it's almost like I have split personality. To a 2-year-old, my way of communicating is very different. And to a 7-year-old, I have to immediately bring into perception of what this child will understand, what this child will need, where this child is currently in his development, neurological development, all of that. So it's not a process that we have to think and sit and do like an experiment. But when you're a mother of multiple children, that switch has to automatically happen within you, because otherwise you'll meet resistance from this child or you'll meet resistance from the younger child. If you're treating the younger child like an older child, so trial and error, you'll figure out automatically your brain wires differently to that. So I think that's also a process that we have to be ready for. And there's always this comparison between the siblings that happens, wherein Sarangan asked me multiple times that you pamper her more, you cuddle her more. And Sarah has told me multiple times that you are always softer when you talk to Sarangan. You're kinder to him. With me, you are a little more irritated. You're snappy. You have to be open to receiving these kind of comments, comparisons.
Your ego should be in check, no?
What about the comparisons the society does on these parents and the siblings? Why is this child darker? Why is this child chubbier?
Me there.
But that's a factor that people have to consider when they have multiple children, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a huge thing that will affect the parent a lot.
Definitely. Now that you spoke of so many cons, I wanted to actually talk about the pros of having multiple.
I have to market people to have more children.
No. Those who want, take tips.
Yeah, but I think it's one of the best decisions that I have taken. That way, pros have been, what are the advantages? I think both of them engage with each other a lot. At least in this, after she's grown a little more, the younger one has grown up. I think I see a good camaraderie between them, and they have their own equation going on.
It's like they fight with each other, they play with each other.
They play with each other, so that's very nice because they get that kind of nourishment from each other. So that's there. That presence of a peer is always there in the house.
So even if you're not there also,
even if I'm working or if I'm engaged with something, they kind of figure out what to do on their own. There's no this, Amma, I'm bored. Amma, what do I do? Amma, come play with me. That is not.
That is a single child issue.
So that is definitely not that. That's a huge pro that I see. Do you see any pros with the families you've interacted?
With 2 children, huh? I can only speak from my experience because I have a sibling. We have a common enemy.
The parent. We can talk about the parent.
குறை சொல்லலாம், குத்த சொல்லலாம், இப்படி இருப்பாங்க அந்த மாதிரி சொல்றதுக்கு ஒரு ஆளு is good, no? என் குழந்தைல என்கிட்ட தான் சொல்லி ஆகணும். My child has to come and complain. You're the go. But if there's a sibling, that's sort of inside joke. And somebody to nag.
Trauma sharing. Share the trauma.
You were sharing.
You will feel understood. You will feel heard. That's there.
Nobody would have understood your childhood as much as your sibling.
Yeah. And nobody can give that kind of a validation. I recently had a beautiful conversation with my sibling about the same things. Oh my God, we actually went through so much, and then look, we're actually doing okay for ourselves. So that kind of validation, I don't think any other person around me, if they give it, wouldn't be valid because he has been there. He knows what it was like.
Yeah, I called up my brother just to ask him stories. What happened? That happened. He has a great memory, so he gives me all these stories. Yeah, so that way it's good. But one child, I think I'll have a different conversation
with another person who has just one child.
That we will talk about it, I guess. Which brings me to the topic of adoption, Ji. Because a lot of parents ask, shall I just adopt instead of going for biological child? For many reasons.
You mean for the second one or for the first?
Second, yeah.
Sure.
Age, medical reasons, or even just I'm passionate to do something good. I've had this dream for a long time. From my teenage, I used to want to adopt. So if that's the case, how do you see, that time? I think I'll definitely have a conversation with the parent that has adopted so that you can get a better picture in case people want to explore the option.
Yeah.
But just because it's connected to the topic of having multiple children, how do you see that?
Honestly, if I have to say, I think I'm not sure about how the people around the parent might accept it because they already have one child, biological child, and they're going to bring in another adopted child. I'm not sure how open people around them would be to treating both the children the same way.
Yeah.
Okay, because the adopted child should never know that they're different or they don't belong here. So that is the only skepticism that I would have to adoption because that was something that even I have dreamt about, even I have spoken about, thought about. So this was a huge factor which made me take a pause and rethink that.
Yeah. There are so many more dynamics. So I promise you guys, I'll get another person to talk about this in detail. But a factor that I'd like to mention here is it's a great thing if you want to go for the second child as a off-heart child. Yeah. Off-body child, off-heart child. It's a good thing. But adoption process is not as easy as we think it is. It is a long, tedious process.
In our country?
In our country, yeah. So you register with CARA, Center for Adoption Resource Agency, and then you wait. It's a long waiting period, and now it's around 3 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There are no children in the system. People think I'm doing a good thing by, adopting, but there are no children in the system.
What do you mean? And then there are so many.
There are older children.
Oh, the newborn.
People want 0 to 2, 2 to 4.
Yeah.
That age segment is mostly taken.
Okay.
Or you should be willing to take special children or children with some kind of special needs or something, or certain disabilities, etc. But there are more children in the age group of 4 and above.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and many parents are not open to that, thing. So, which, again, I told you is a very, very layered issue. I think we have to have somebody to separately talk about it, which I will. So, yeah, that's something that you can consider if you have the time and the energy and the resources, and your family is also supportive and everything is working out, then it's a beautiful thing that you can do, I would say. So, those are all the aspects that I could think of when it comes to having multiple children, Ji. I think we've covered most of the important things. That brings me to my story of getting a dog. Yeah.
Bring it on.
So it's a long story actually, but I'll just shorten it for the sake of this video. Which is, I think last February, we got a puppy. And I was not okay with it fully because I knew the intricacies and the layers of all these things.
Good effort.
Yeah. But the family, especially Maya, she wanted some pet to be a companion, a friend, because she's single child. And the other family members were also on board. They were like, okay, let's try. But I knew the nuances of the thing. And I was like, no, wait. But before that, they went and saw the puppy. And once she saw the puppy, she was like, oh, no, I want to get it. And then I didn't want to disappoint her. And things happened. Just happened.
Accidentally.
But the daily routine of looking after a small animal, a puppy animal, is very similar to going through postpartum.
Yeah. Similar to being a parent again.
Because I went through that. I literally had sleepless nights and I became the second time mother to this puppy. And it was just me that was doing everything. Of course, there was a lot of support. I can't deny it. Food was being taken care of. Everything was being taken care of. Everybody was supportive. My husband was very involved in playing with the puppy, engaging, taking him out. Everything was happening. But for me, I felt it was exactly the same as postpartum.
Yep.
And
a small puppy, so he was not trained.
Yeah, all pet owners, pet lovers, pet parents can relate. Yes, I was this pet parent for a few months. Then it got really overwhelming. And then at one point, I started crying for the puppy. Puppy didn't eat, puppy didn't poop, puppy did that. And it was taking up a lot of energy and my mental health was kind of wavering during that time.
You were exhausted.
I was exhausted.
Overwhelmed. You didn't like...
the trainer was coming, so we were doing training and then I have to be available during that time. I can't take my calls during that time and nobody's at home during daytime. I'm the only one
You
there.
can stop meeting us for weekends. Puppies that have to go.
So it was literally like having another child and going through the whole process, I was not completely enjoying it. I was doing it. I loved the puppy. But was it seamlessly integrated into our lifestyle and our day-to-day routine? No, that didn't happen. So before the puppy completely bonded with us, a friend of mine, a very, very dear friend of mine, told me that she was about to get a dog. So I said, don't get any other dog. There's this amazing dog that I've trained. Everything is set. Everything is ready. If you can have him. And she said, yes, I can have him. So she's with him. Sorry, he is with her now. And I can get to see him anytime. So I went all the way to where they are multiple times to see him, to spend time with him. So I'm happy that he got a good family and home and everything. But it was a huge lesson for me that I was not ready for another experience of this sort. And it was a very opposing energy to other people in the house. He was more similar to me. Maya is more similar to the introverts in the house. This puppy was very similar to me. So it was almost like having a little boy at home. But universe or God gave me the opportunity to enjoy that for some time, which I am totally grateful for. I think of him almost every day, but it was a huge lesson also that I'm not ready for another because I am on a different pursuit. I'm on a different journey. Yeah. I have other goals and other plans in my head to do a lot of things. So I think I should focus on that. Was a lesson that I took from that. Everybody had their own lessons. Maya had her own lessons that she's not ready to take care of an animal. She was also not ready to let go of my time. Amma, you're spending more time with him, only not with him. Oh my God. These are things that exactly happens when you have a sibling. No? So those kind of things were happening. My husband and me, we never talk to each other because he will be playing with the dog and I'll be with Maya. And then when he is with her, I'll be with the dog. So we never got to see each other at all during that time frame. Everything did to happen like how it would happen if there was a little baby at home. So this is a story I wanted to share. So,
but people who have multiple children also, there is a spiritual learning from that also. For in my case, for me to have two very different children, even when you said this was the topic, I was thinking, if not for Sarah, I wouldn't be the woman I am today. So she's brought in like so much of learning for me in the past 4 years that she's been with us. So I think that way it was meant to be. She was meant to be. She chose to be here, and I chose that she should be my daughter, and all of that. So that way, I think spiritually,
Beautiful. No? Oh, yeah.
so enriching.
Yes. Parenting itself, 1 child or 2 child or 7 children, whatever it is your growth that matters. Your growth is only happening. You are the one that is growing and evolving day by day. There's nothing to do with the child, in fact. That is, in fact, my or our concluding message also, which is there is no right or wrong.
Yes.
There is no good decision, bad decision. Whatever decision it is, life will go on. Only thing is, if you're taking decision number 1, life will go in path number A. Decision 2, path B. That's all. So there is no right or wrong. Go through all these factors, and there might be more factors also.
In their family.
Yeah, your family, your unique circumstances can be very different. So go through all of that and please make an informed decision, an informed choice. Whatever it is, you will manage, you will handle. That's for sure. Yeah,
Resources will come.
yes,
Fall into place.
yes, yeah. So that's it. Thank you so much, G, for yet another enlightening conversation. I'm sending a lot of love and healing to all of you. See you in another episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye.